Thank you, Jane, for your wonderful talk. Yeah, I want to talk about a couple of things that Jane mentioned. See, I remember one, let's see if I'll remember the other, about sitting with our eyes open. So it's not just about staying awake, but, some people have the notion that meditation is about attaining various states, internal states of mind. And if you do that, then you're going to sit with your eyes closed. And anything that happens outside is a distraction from this wonderful mental state you are trying so desperately to attain, But Zen practice is let the world in. So if a dog is barking, that's fine. If a train is making train sounds, which sometimes we hear because we're near some railroad tracks, that's fine. If the kids are jumping up and down during Dharma school, that's fine. I had a friend a very, very long time ago who was doing transcendental meditation, and he and his wife were both doing it, and they had a space in their attic, which they'd set up as their meditation space, and they had very young children. And, he was complaining. He said, I'm up there meditating, but I have to yell at my children to shut up because they're disturbing my meditation. Zen practice is if you have a bunch of people, making a lot of noise around you, that's okay. I once had a Zen retreat in New Mexico, and it was right next to this sort of outdoor space where they had like a festival. It was like a rock and roll festival, G-L-O-R-I-A, and you're sitting there and this is coming through. That's okay. It's fine, And one time in Providence, when the Providence Zen Center actually was in Providence, this big old house in this old part of the city. And I remember there were these two women screaming at each other in Italian, right outside the window, on a retreat, and they're screaming at each other in Italian. I don't know Italian, so I can't imitate. But yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So Zen practice is let the world in. So if our eyes are closed, it's harder to let the world in, I mean, if you're blind, then it's easy because you're used to your ears letting the world in and your skin letting the world in and your nose. But most of us are visually oriented. So if we close our eyes and, not only do we go to sleep, but also we can't let the world in. So yeah, so let the world in. Let the world in through your eyes and your ears, your nose. If something smells, that's okay. Everything. Just let the universe in. Let the universe in. It's not separate from you. So that's why we sit with our eyes open. It's not just staying awake, it's letting the universe in. And I forget what else you said that I wanted to comment on, but that really was a wonderful Dharma talk. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know what it was. The correct situation, correct relationship, correct function. This is very good guidelines, but they're like precepts. Precepts are these guidelines that, we vow to not lie, not kill, not steal, not do things bad things out of lust, not to take intoxicants to induce heedlessness. We vow these things, and these are very good guidelines, but the best thing is when you completely digest these guidelines, whether it's correct function, relationship, situation, or whether it's the precepts guidelines, you digest these guidelines, then you don't have to think about them. You completely digested them. And then it's just instantaneous. You don't have to ask, what's my correct function? You don't have to ask, I wonder if it's okay to kill, You don't have to do that. You just know. You just know. You don't even know. You just, as Jane said, you just do 100%. Yeah. So, yeah, all this stuff is we have all these wonderful teachings, and then we have to cut through those teachings and get to the absolute essence, which is before speech, before thinking. So, thank you. Are there any questions? Yes. Well, let Jan.
What's Dharmakaya?
Oh, gosh. Let's see if I can remember. This is the three bodies. There's the,
Well, it's, yeah, one.
well, yeah, it's one of the three bodies, right? And Dharmakaya, I could look it up on my phone. I think what? Yeah, Nirmanakaya and something else Kaya. Yeah, but I think, is Dharmakaya the last one? You can see how important I think this is. I think, so I'll tell you what the three are. So there's the body that you see, this thing here, it says watch on, glasses, that's the thing that's visible. And then there's the sort of body that's a kind of manifestation, like like the Buddha had these 32 marks of Buddhahood, which are very weird things, like, a little tuft over here and funny marks on his feet and things like that. I think his finger lengths were sort of abnormal, like maybe the second finger was as long as the third, I forget. But anyway, there's 32 marks of Buddhahood. So then there's that body, which not everyone would see, but there's that body. And then there's the body that's completely one with the universe. I think that's the Dharmakaya. I always forget which name's which. But the Dharmakaya, this third body is this body that is more fundamental than a body. So I think that's answering your question. But everyone can go home or go out, look at your phone, go to Wikipedia and look up Dharmakaya, Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya. Yeah, you can look up Kaya. Kaya means body. So you can look up all those things. Yeah. Thank you for your question. Okay, Liz.
Yeah, you mentioned digesting the precepts. And actually, my question was going to be about digesting. I have like these at least 3, and now I have 4 and 5 because you said I should digest the precepts. So you have all these questions, that I can't answer, so you sit with them, but to digest them, I mean, then do I think about them while I'm meditating? Do I just, okay, I have this question and then let it go, and somehow I'm going to digest it? Does that question make any sense? There just seems to be so much stuff to digest. How do you digest it all?
You digest by practice and not by trying, okay, today my practice will be about digesting the third precept. No, not like that. So you just keep practicing. And as you keep practicing without effort, without any mental effort, these things will naturally be absorbed. And, as Jane talked about, you're sitting there or maybe you're doing something, suddenly you notice what your mind is doing. You notice that, you're 1,000 miles away or something like that. This kind of thing, you just notice and you notice and you notice and you notice and you notice. And then that causes whatever process is this, using the metaphor of digestion. Just as, when you eat, you put the food in your mouth and you chew it, and you're aware of that, and then you swallow it and you're aware of that, and then after that, unless you have like a stomach ache or something, you're not aware of what's going on. But all this stuff is happening, and you're not conscious of it, and it's not controlled by the nervous part of the nervous system that makes, your hands and your feet move and my mouth flap, and it's not controlled by that. It's something that just happens. And so this digestion is just like letting it happen. And all this awareness, every time, you notice your mind doing something, that's part of the process. But most of it, it goes on, below, that's a sort of bad word, but I'll use it, below any conscious awareness. You just keep practicing, you keep being aware of your life as it unfolds and the lives of everyone else around you as they unfold. You just keep doing that. And eventually this stuff just starts sinking in and sinking in and sinking in. And then one day you find yourself doing something, in a certain, really present way, very immediate, very intimate, and you say, oh, this practice works, like that. But yeah, the practice doesn't work, right? But another bad metaphor. But yeah, just let it happen. Let it happen. And this constant bringing our mind back to our practice and also being aware of what's interrupting our thoughts. When Jane was talking about it during walking meditation, oh, I've done this a million times, this is so boring. And then suddenly she realizes, oh, my foot, I've never taken this step before. I've never taken this step before. And then suddenly everything shifts. So it's like that. Okay? Yeah. Thank you. I should tell you about how I became a vegetarian, because that sort of relates to this. So of course, killing's a bad idea, but I ate meat and I loved barbecue. I really loved barbecue. And I was, I was living at that point, I was living on the East Coast, and I went to California for the summer to do research, and I was sitting a Zen retreat, and then I was going to go from there. I was going to go to Wisconsin to do more research, and I was. So I sat this retreat, fine, and then after the retreat, I got in my car and I got on the road to go to Wisconsin, to go to Madison, and I was behind a pig truck, and you could see like the animal shit on the side of the truck. There were no animals in it, but they hadn't done a very good job cleaning it, so you were aware of what it was. And whatever the highway is there, was the northern highway, it was down to one lane, so I couldn't pass this truck. And I was behind this truck until we got into Nevada. So it was quite a long way from Berkeley to Nevada. I'm behind this pig truck. And then someplace in Nevada, I get off the road to go into, get some dinner. And of course, when you're on the road, one of the best dinners is breakfast, right? So I ordered ham and eggs, as was my wont. And I had a piece of ham, and I put it in my mouth, and I couldn't eat it. This was not a conscious, I am going to become a vegetarian. It's just, I put that piece of meat in my mouth, and I simply could not eat it. And I wasn't traveling behind this truck saying, oh, those poor pigs, nothing like that. I was just traveling behind this pig truck. And somehow the pig karma sort of penetrated my consciousness. It just penetrated my consciousness, not consciously. It just penetrated. And then I, get off the road and I put this piece of meat in my mouth, and I couldn't eat it, so I took it out. I said, okay, I guess I'm a vegetarian. And I didn't know what to do. I mean, I would go into grocery stores and buy, green beans and eat them raw. I had no idea how to be a vegetarian. But yeah, so it's like that. It's like all of a sudden, that's what digestion means. Digesting these things, that metaphor, it means that they're so much a part of you, you're not even conscious of them anymore. Are you conscious, when every molecule of protein that you had in your breakfast, do you know where it went in your body? Oh, it's in my little finger. Oh, that one's in my thumb. It's not like that. So you just digest. That's what digest means. It becomes so much a part of you. Okay? So thank you. Are there any other questions? Yes.
Is there a daily practice you recommend, and how do you stay motivated?
Okay, so that's a wonderful question. The question is, so people online can hear it, is there a daily practice that I recommend? And if so, how do you stay motivated to do it? Yes, there is a daily practice that I recommend. And the practice that I recommend is you start with the 4 great vows, because that gives you direction. Oh, this practice is not about my life. This practice is about liberating all beings. You're not in the sense of, okay, I'm going to liberate you, but in the sense of your life naturally You're helping all beings naturally. So, okay, so it sets the direction. Then you do a certain number of prostrations, which I can't do anymore, but I do them in a chair, goddammit, okay? And it could be 3, it could be 9, it could be 27, 108. You notice that these numbers sort of are all like dividing 108. And that's because 2 squared times 3 cubed is sort of, they were really into number theory in ancient India, so that's a magic number. But yeah, so maybe 3, maybe 9, maybe 27, maybe 28. And it's not like, oh, today I wonder how many I'm going to do. It's like you decide, this is what my practice is. And so you do prostrations. And then after those prostrations, you sit. And again, you decide ahead of time, I'm going to sit for 10 minutes, I'm going to sit for 5 minutes, I'm going to sit for 20 minutes. I recommend not less than 10 and no more than 40. But, you know, you look at how your life is, what you have to do in the morning. It's good to do this in the morning. You know, what you have to do in the morning, and then you figure out, getting to your second question, what practice you can actually sustain. So several times, you know, people have, you know, come to the Zen Center, especially in the old days. You know, we had a friend and she was, oh God, I love the Zen Center. Will you pick me up every morning? And so we picked her up every morning. And this was when we had like 7 days a week morning practice. And we picked her up every morning and she was so excited. And she came every morning. And then after day 14, she said, don't pick me up anymore. So you don't want to do that. You want something that's actually sustainable. And then you pick a time in your day. And I don't mean clock time. I mean like after I brush my teeth or before I get dressed, you know, some time. If some people can't do it in the morning, then after dinner, you know, some place in your day, maybe over lunch hour. You pick some place in your day and you commit every day. That's when I'm going to do my practice. Now, you know, on the days you come to the Zen Center, you can, you know, you may decide not to do the daily practice, but when you're not at the Zen Center, every single day, do this practice. So you make this commitment. And to keep motivated, one of the great gifts is you will not always be motivated. There are times where it's like, why do I have to do this? I can't stand doing this. I remember, you know, Jane has a son who's a very, very accomplished musician. He's a professional musician, clarinet, plays clarinet. And when he was in high school, you know, and he would practice clarinet every day. And Jane said to him one time, well, don't you get tired of practicing clarinet every day? And he said, oh, yeah, sure. Oh, got to go practice. You know? So it's that mind. It's not about whether you feel like doing it. That's really important. So doing it when you don't feel like doing it is a wonderful gift, because that takes us out of our desire mind of doing what we feel like doing and not doing what I don't feel like doing it. You know, instead we understand this is what I'm doing, and you just do it. When I was first practicing, I practiced at Cambridge Zen Center, and the building was, you know, on a hill that fell away towards the rear. So you entered the front door from the street level, and then you kept walking, and before you knew it, you know, you were, you know, on the second floor, effectively. But it was still the same level of the building, and so I would sit there and look at the window. And I would think, I am so bored. I am so bored. I can't stand this. I'm gonna bust through the window and jump out the building, which was crazy because I could have walked out the front door, you know? But it always occurred to me as busting through that window and jumping out the building, you know? So, but that's why I continued sitting. Plus, you know, I could have cut my hand or something. But, you know, it's just that mind that it doesn't matter, you know. And I recognized, I said, this is great. I'm really bored. I'm learning how to sit through boredom. That's a really hard thing to do. And to learn how to sit through boredom until finally it kind of dissolves. Yeah. So just do it. Like Jane said, you just do it. You just do it. No matter whether you feel like doing it or not. And even illness is no excuse. You can always lie in bed and practice. You can always do that. You can always say the 4 great vows, and you can always meditate. And if you're, not going to bother anybody, you can always chant the Heart Sutra in English. I don't regularly recommend chanting as part of a home practice, but if you can't do prostrations because you're flat on your back with a broken hip, which happened to me, you can chant the Heart Sutra instead. So yeah, so that's my advice. Thank you, and thank you so much for asking that question. Yeah, and it's time to stop.